My Fellow Americans was after a huge hit, Tommy Boy, which became a big hit, right? Became a cult. I know you talk about this ad nauseum, but when you're writing this, I remember you telling me like you just kind of put things on cue cards.
That particular one, yeah.
How did that work? Explain the process.
Well, oh boy. So I had done two things with Farley. One was the Naked Truth with Tom Arnold, and then Tom did a spinoff of Roseanne called The Jackie Thomas Show.
Right.
And Chris guest starred on it. And I thought, without a doubt, this guy is the funniest person I've ever met in my entire life. And whatever his first movie is, I would be honored to be just in the running for it. So a few months later, I get this script called Billy the Third, a Midwestern. And it was Tommy Boy. And the script was horrible, just not good at all. But I said, yeah, let me come in and I asked Lauren, I said, I've got a lot of notes. Should I actually say them? This is only my second movie, so I'm still very green. Very green. He said, Pete, yes, just go in and tell them what you think. And that was a mistake. Because I said, I went in guns a-blazing, pew, 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 and they went, thank you very much. And I left and obviously did not get the job. The good news for me was that the rest of Hollywood had turned this movie down. No one wanted to do it. And so now they missed the window, hiatus. And now they were getting desperate. So they called me back and said, okay, about those notes you have, we might allow a few of them. And basically I could see the desperation in their eyes. And so I got sucked in. And then I started working on the script. Jim Downey came out from the head writer, and Fred Wolf.
How long did you have
to prep?
I mean, from the time they say, here's notes, we need your notes fast. We need them.
Oh, it was weeks.
Weeks.
And so Jim comes out and he's covered in calamine lotion from having fallen in a poison ivy patch somewhere. He looked hideous, but he's a brilliant guy, obviously. And we got together and he told stories for about a week. And then I looked up at him, and because I'm panicking now because we absolutely have done nothing and I'm desperately behind. And I said, okay, what about the script? And he goes, oh, well, I can't help you with that. That's a piece of shit. And left. So I quit. And I remember it was a Sunday that I got this relates to your cards question. I had a phone call from Sherry Lansing. My wife answered the phone and said, it's Sherry. And I went over and she said, I have a team of attorneys speeding to the studio to figure out how to take your home from you and sue you for tens of millions of dollars.
That you don't have.
And I said, have you seen my home? I said, checkmate, fine. But, this is going to be a disaster. There's no script. She goes, honey, I believe in you. Now, I will say this. The threat was 100% real, but it was actually a gift that Sherry gave me because 10 years later, I'm on the lot doing The Longest Yard, and I see her in the commissary, and she hugs me and looks straight into my eyes and says, do you remember that phone call? And I said, oh, yeah. She said, worked out pretty well, didn't it? And I said, absolutely. I owe my career to her. But it was scary. It was some definite tough love. But there's that old saying, sometimes you do your best work with a gun to your head. So I called Fred and I said, I was crying. And I said, I mean, snot bubble tears. And I said, dude, you got to come over. We got to figure this out. She threatened to take my home from me. Come on over. So he came over and he's like, Pete, Jesus Christ, will you just stop? You're not going to cry. Just pull yourself together. I said,
Fred lived up here, by the way, right?
Yeah, now he's in Carmel.
Right.
And I said, okay, just funny things that happened to us. And I said, I got one. I was at a gas station, in my wife's car, and I didn't park close enough to the pump. So I pulled my car back and I forgot that the door was open. I hyperextended the door on a pole. And he goes, okay, there's one. We wrote down on a card and chucked it on the carpet. He goes, I got one. I put oil in my car and I forgot to leave, that I left the oil can under the hood, and the hood flew up on the freeway, and I almost died. And I went, yeah, that might be something. Wrote that down, you know. And then I had one more. I said, I was on a date, a double date with my best friend on a lake in Arizona, where I learned to sail a little 10-foot Montgomery. And some kids started heckling us because it was a dead calm and we weren't moving. And I said, oh, that might be fun. Maybe we can have Farley be me and he can just scream at the kids. Okay, there's something. And we started collecting these cards on the floor. And after a while, we said, I don't know what this movie is, but I think there might be a trailer here, right? So we started. We had Fred wrote up what we talked about, and we started with 66 pages. That was day one of principal. We had no second half of the movie. We had no idea.
You started
how it
filming
ended.
with only 66 pages done.
Yep. The ironic.
What was the first scene you shot?
M&M's going into the dashboard.
Your brain has a hard shell or whatever. That one?
Yeah. And when the M&M's, we went around a corner in the car, and the M&M's actually did what I scripted. They rolled out of the bag down the vent. And I was thrilled that it actually worked, without visual effects, without any monofilament and anything like that.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my God, I wonder if this is an omen. That's the first gag, and it actually worked. And so I just thought, just one step at a time, just beat by beat. Don't panic. Don't worry that you don't have a second half of the movie.
But you're directing.
We'll figure this out.
You're trying to figure this movie out.
It was horrible. It was horrifying. So one day, I'll tell you how the ending came. Len Blum, who wrote Stripes, someone knew him, and he came out to Toronto where we were filming, and he said, what do you think? I said, well, I've always had this idea that Tommy Callahan was going to talk to the ghost of his father, and we built the water tower, and I thought maybe he'd be up there in the water tower, but I don't know, it seems corny, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, well, let me take a look at some of your cut footage. And so he took a look at the scene with Julie Warner and Chris on the lake right after the death of his father. He said, that's a really powerful scene. That's great. Why don't we revisit that? And I went, oh my God, that's it. That's perfect. That's beautiful. And so we revisited that scene. We needed to have a dead calm again on this lake. The ironic thing, though, we shot it, and Chris had trouble crying. And so he started poking himself in the eye. And I said, Chris, whoa, what are you doing? He goes, Pete, I can't cry. And I said, okay, but you're going to blind yourself. Don't. And he goes, and this was his way. And he actually got himself to a great place, had a wonderful performance in the scene. He left, and we got a call from the lab that the film got stuck in the soup, as they say, and we lost the scene. We had to reshoot it. And so, to ask for the stars to align once again and have a dead calm on this lake,
no wind,
etc. And so we had to come back out, and we reshot it. So we shot that twice. But yeah, that was piecing something together out of nothing.